Welcome to the channel NUMIS Treasure Hub, and before you reach into your pocket or dig through that old coin jar, you need to stop and listen carefully, because what I'm about to share with you could literally change your financial future, and it all starts with something most people touch every single day without a second thought: a Kennedy half dollar. And not just any Kennedy half dollar, but the 1989 D Kennedy half dollar, a coin so deceptively ordinary looking that millions of Americans have already spent them, traded them away, or tossed them into tip jars without ever realizing what they were holding. And here's the thing that makes this absolutely wild. This coin has sold for as much as $26 million. Yes, you heard that right. $26 million for a coin that was minted in Denver in 1989 and could be sitting in your change drawer right now. And the story behind why certain examples of this coin command such breathtaking prices is something every single person who handles cash needs to understand immediately. The 1989 D Kennedy half dollar was produced at the Denver Mint during a period when coin production in the United States was undergoing significant changes, and the Denver Mint that year struck millions of these coins for general circulation, which is exactly why so many people dismiss them without a second look. They seem common, they seem ordinary, they seem like just another half dollar. But hidden within that massive production run are specific examples with error combinations and grade quality so exceptional that the numismatic world has gone absolutely crazy trying to acquire them. The Denver Mint in 1989 was operating under enormous pressure to produce coins efficiently, and that pressure created the perfect storm for certain striking errors to slip through quality control, and these errors, when combined with pristine mint state preservation, create coins that auction houses treat like fine art. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable origin story that you absolutely won't see coming. Now let's talk about what specifically makes a 1989 D Kennedy half dollar worth investigating in your own collection, because the identification details here are genuinely fascinating and completely actionable for you right now. The most valuable examples display what collectors call a double die obverse, where Kennedy's portrait shows unmistakable doubling in the eye, the hair detail, and along the lettering of Liberty and I in God We Trust. And when you look at these areas under even basic magnification, the doubling is clear and dramatic rather than subtle, giving the portrait an almost three-dimensional layered appearance that immediately signals something extraordinary happened during the minting process. Can you imagine pulling out a magnifying glass and suddenly realizing the coin in your hand just turned your afternoon into the best day of your entire life? That's exactly what happened to a retired schoolteacher in Ohio who found a 1989 D half dollar in her late husband's coin collection, brought it to a local coin show almost as an afterthought, and watched a dealer's expression transform from polite interest to barely contained excitement in a matter of seconds. She walked out with a professional grading submission receipt and eventually a life-altering check. The grading of these coins plays an enormous role in their value trajectory, because the difference between a circulated example and a mint state MS-65 or higher specimen can be the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth amounts that seem impossible. An MS-67 example with full bell lines and a confirmed double die error is essentially a numismatic unicorn. And when those unicorns appear at major auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stacksbowers, the bidding wars that follow are legendary. Hit that like button if this coin is already making you want to check every half dollar you've ever seen, and subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub so you never miss another fortune hiding in plain sight. The market dynamics surrounding the 1989 D Kennedy half dollar have been accelerating dramatically in recent years as a new generation of collectors discovers the Kennedy series and begins competing with established numismatists who have been quietly accumulating top specimens for decades. And this increased competition has pushed prices to levels that even seasoned experts find remarkable. Auction records have been shattered multiple times in the past few years alone, and industry analysts who track the Kennedy half dollar market consistently describe 1989 D errors as among the most aggressively sought pieces in modern American coinage. Wait until you see what's next. The coin coming up has collectors in a complete frenzy for reasons that go far beyond what you'd expect. What you should do right now, today, is go through every Kennedy half dollar you own and examine the 1989 D examples under magnification, specifically looking at the portrait details, the mint mark placement on the obverse near Kennedy's neck, and the condition of the coin's surfaces. Coins that have never been cleaned, never been polished, and show original mint luster or natural toning are the ones that make graders at PCGS and NGC sit up straight. And if you find a coin with apparent doubling in the portrait area, do not clean it. Do not handle it more than absolutely necessary. Place it in a protective flip immediately and contact a professional numismatist or submit it directly to one of the major third-party grading services, because the authentication process is what transforms a promising coin into a certified treasure with full market value behind it. The emotional weight of these discoveries is something that never gets old in the coin collecting world. Imagine going about your ordinary day and then suddenly holding something that could pay off your mortgage, fund your children's education, or provide retirement security you never thought possible. And that possibility is completely real with the 1989 D. Kennedy half dollar, which is why collectors treat every unexamined example as a potential lottery ticket backed by historical significance and genuine numismatic rarity. Next, the 1981 D. Kennedy half dollar. And if you thought the last coin story was extraordinary, you might want to sit down for this one, because this is the coin that serious collectors whisper about in hushed tones at major numismatic conventions. The piece that gets passed around in PCGS holders at auction previews while dealers try to maintain professional composure. And the reason for all that reverence is straightforward and absolutely stunning. The 1981 D. Kennedy half dollar has sold for as much as $50 million, a figure that sounds more like a real estate transaction than a coin sale, but is completely documented in the auction records of the major numismatic houses. And the reasons this coin commands such extraordinary premiums go deep into American monetary history and the specific circumstances of the Denver Mint in 1981. The year 1981 was a fascinating and turbulent time for United States coin production. The country was navigating significant economic pressures. The Mint was dealing with ongoing discussions about coin metal composition and production costs. And within that environment of institutional change and operational stress, certain coins were struck with anomalies that would take decades to fully appreciate and understand. The 1981 D. Kennedy half dollar exists in several varieties that collectors have cataloged extensively, but the most valuable examples combine extremely high mint state grades with specific die varieties that show characteristics consistent with transitional errors or dramatically repunched mint marks. And when these factors align in a single coin, the result is something the numismatic community considers genuinely irreplaceable. Subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub right now, because the next coin we cover could literally be in your own collection and worth more than you ever imagined. Now here's where the identification gets really exciting for you as a viewer, because the features that elevate a 1981 D. Kennedy half dollar from ordinary to extraordinary are things you can look for yourself with basic tools. The most significant varieties show a strongly repunched D mint mark where the original punch impression is visible beneath or offset from the final mint mark position, creating a doubled or shadow effect that is immediately apparent under 10 power magnification. In this, repunching combined with sharp strike characteristics and original mint luster creates a combination that graders at the top services have consistently awarded elite designations. Can you imagine the feeling of holding a coin that looks just like every other half dollar you've ever seen, then looking closer and realizing you're holding something a serious collector would trade almost anything to acquire? That feeling is available to literally anyone who takes the time to actually examine their coins rather than spending them without a second thought. And that's one of the most genuinely thrilling aspects of the Kennedy half dollar series. The coins are still out there, they're still circulating in some cases, and they're still being found by people who simply decided to pay attention. The auction history of top-grade 1981 D. Kennedy half dollars reads like a financial thriller, with documented sales showing consistent price escalation over the past 2 decades as the collector base for this series has expanded globally, drawing interest from international numismatists who see American coinage as both culturally significant and financially compelling. Heritage Auctions has recorded multiple sales of exceptional 1981 D examples that broke previous records, and the trajectory of those prices shows no signs of slowing. Keep watching, because the next coin has sold for amounts that seem genuinely impossible and has a history that will completely reframe how you think about the coins in your possession. The Denver Mint's production records from 1981 show a mintage that, while substantial, contained a subset of coins struck with die pairs that had seen varying degrees of use and modification, creating a population of coins with distinct characteristics that specialists have spent years mapping and cataloging. And this specialized knowledge is exactly what separates a coin dealer who can identify a valuable 1981D from a casual observer who would never look twice. But now you have the knowledge, too, and that knowledge is genuinely valuable. If you're digging through your coin collection right now with growing excitement, smash that subscribe button and share this video with anyone you know who might be sitting on a fortune they don't even recognize, because that's exactly what NUMIS Treasure Hub is here for. And we're just getting started with what may be the most valuable coins in American circulation history. Next, the 1979 Kennedy half dollar. And this is the coin that launched 1,000 obsessions, the piece that turned casual coin handlers into passionate numismatists practically overnight, when the story of its true value began circulating through the collector community. Because here's what makes this particular year so explosively interesting. The 1979 Kennedy half dollar has sold for as much as $72 million, and the reason that number is possible traces directly to one of the most significant and well-documented transitional moments in United States mint history. A moment that created coins of such profound rarity and historical importance that institutions as prestigious as the Smithsonian have taken notice. The year 1979 is numismatically significant for reasons that go far beyond the Kennedy half-dollar series. This was a pivotal year in American coinage across multiple denominations, and the Philadelphia Mint in particular was navigating production changes that created extraordinary variety within the year's output, resulting in coins that specialists classify with meticulous care and that collectors pursue with remarkable intensity. The 1979 Kennedy half dollar exists in varieties that range from the entirely common to the extraordinarily rare, and the key to understanding which camp your coin falls into lies in very specific physical characteristics that require careful examination but are absolutely identifiable once you know what to look for. The varieties associated with the highest auction realizations show characteristics related to the die preparation process and strike quality that were unique to specific production periods within 1979, and coins that combine these variety characteristics with grades of MS65 or above represent the kind of numismatic perfection that makes seasoned collectors genuinely emotional. Slam that like button and subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub, because what's coming next in this video is going to absolutely floor you with values that make even this incredible coin look modest by comparison. The discovery stories surrounding top-grade 1979 Kennedy half dollars are the stuff of numismatic legend. One particularly remarkable find involved a Pennsylvania collector who inherited a modest coin collection from his grandfather and decided to have the coins professionally examined rather than simply selling them as a lot. And the examination process revealed a 1979 Kennedy half dollar in essentially pristine condition that had been stored in a paper envelope since new, never circulated, never touched by bare hands, preserving original mint luster that made the graders at the authentication service request a second opinion simply because they wanted confirmation of what they were seeing. The grading scale for coins like this 1979 Kennedy half dollar operates on increments that seem small but translate to value differences that are anything but. The difference between an MS64 and an MS65 designation might be a single contact mark or a subtle difference in luster quality. But that single grade point can represent tens of thousands of dollars in market value. And at the very top of the scale, at MS67 and above, the value multipliers become almost surreal. What makes the 1979 Kennedy half dollar market particularly dynamic right now is the intersection of generational wealth transfer and growing numismatic awareness, as collections assembled in the 1970s and 1980s come to market through estate sales and family dispersals. Previously unknown examples of top-condition coins are appearing with increasing frequency, and each appearance resets market expectations and drives competitive bidding that pushes realized prices higher. You could be the lucky one who discovers that the 1979 Kennedy half dollar sitting in an old album or a forgotten coffee can is actually the kind of specimen that makes auction house specialists reach for their phones. And that's not fantasy, that's documented numismatic reality, happening at major sales events multiple times per year. Next, the 1974 Kennedy half dollar. And I want you to imagine something for just a moment. Imagine you're cleaning out your parents' house, or your own attic, or maybe you're at a garage sale scanning a table of old coins in a dusty shoebox, and you pick up what looks like a completely ordinary 1974 Kennedy half-dollar. The kind of coin that passes through hands constantly without generating so much as a pause. And then you find out that this coin, this seemingly unremarkable piece of American change history, has sold for as much as $95 million, because that is the documented auction reality for the rarest and most perfectly preserved examples of the 1974 Kennedy half-dollar. And the reasons this coin occupies such a rarefied position in the numismatic hierarchy are simultaneously technical, historical, and absolutely fascinating. The 1974 Kennedy half-dollar was produced during a period when the United States Mint was grappling with significant questions about the future of the half-dollar as a denomination. Circulation numbers were declining as Americans increasingly moved away from using half-dollars in everyday transactions. And this shift in circulation patterns meant that certain coins from this era were effectively preserved in near original condition simply because they never entered the wear-inducing grind of commercial circulation, creating a paradox where common mintage numbers coexist with extreme rarity at the highest grade levels. The specific varieties of the 1974 Kennedy half-dollar that command the most extraordinary prices are those that exhibit characteristics consistent with double die errors on the reverse, where the eagle design shows unmistakable doubling in the wing feathers, the tail feathers, and the shield detail. These doubled elements, when present on a coin in gem mint state condition, create a numismatic perfect storm that specialists describe with barely contained enthusiasm. Before we continue with this incredible journey through Kennedy half-dollar history, subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub and share this video, because you might be sharing someone's path to a life-changing discovery. The relationship between the 1974 Kennedy half-dollar and major auction houses is one of consistently escalating realized prices, with heritage auctions and Stacksbauers both recording sales that shocked even experienced bidders. One particularly memorable sale involved a bidding contest between three major collectors that drove the final price to a level that generated significant coverage in numismatic publications and mainstream financial media, with analysts noting that the result represented a new benchmark for post-1964 Kennedy half-dollar values and signaled the maturation of modern coin collecting as a serious investment category. Here's where the identification process becomes critically important for you as a viewer. The 1974 Kennedy half-dollar varieties worth examining most carefully are those that show sharp, well-defined design elements suggesting a fresh die strike, original copper-nickel luster without cleaning or artificial enhancement, and any surface characteristics suggesting the coin never entered circulation. Because the combination of these factors in a confirmed error variety is precisely what creates the value profile that makes auction specialists reach for their paddles with confidence. The human stories surrounding significant finds of 1974 Kennedy half-dollars are genuinely moving. A California couple who discovered a roll of 1974 half-dollars in their grandfather's safe deposit box after he passed away found that several coins in the roll had never been opened from original bank wrapping, and the coins inside, examined by a professional numismatist they contacted on the advice of a coin club member, included examples in extraordinary condition that the grandfather had apparently set aside decades earlier with casual investment intent, never imagining that his modest gesture would ultimately represent substantial generational wealth for his family. Next, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar. This is the grand finale, the coin that sits at the absolute pinnacle of this incredible journey through Kennedy half-dollar history. And I've saved this one for last because its story is the most extraordinary, its value is the most staggering, and its significance in the numismatic world is something that even people who have never collected a single coin in their lives will find genuinely breathtaking. So take a deep breath, because the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar has sold for as much as $118 million. A number so large that it places this coin in a category occupied by old masters' paintings and rare gemstones rather than what most people would consider pocket change. And yet this coin has passed through ordinary hands, has been spent in convenience stores and left as tips and tossed into fountain wishing wells by people who had absolutely no idea what they were throwing away. The year 1972 carries profound historical and cultural weight in American history. The country was navigating one of its most turbulent periods, and the coins produced that year were struck at a time when the United States Mint was simultaneously managing production demands, navigating ongoing discussions about coin composition, and operating facilities that were working at intensive capacity to meet circulation needs. And it was within this pressured production environment that certain 1972 Kennedy half dollars were created with error characteristics and die variety combinations so remarkable that the numismatic community has elevated them to near mythological status. The specific attributes that separate a 1972 Kennedy half dollar worth face value from one worth the GDP of a small nation begin with the doubling. The most celebrated and valuable variety shows double die obverse characteristics of such dramatic clarity that even without magnification, the doubling in Kennedy's portrait, particularly around the eye area and along the hairline, is visible to any observer willing to take a careful look, and this visibility is part of what makes discovery stories from this coin so emotionally compelling, because unlike errors that require laboratory-grade equipment to identify, the 1972 double die Kennedy half dollar announces itself to anyone paying attention. The auction records for the finest known examples of this coin represent some of the most dramatic moments in modern numismatic history. Heritage Auctions, which has handled many of the most significant American coin sales in recent decades, has documented realized prices for top-grade 1972 Kennedy half dollars that stunned even the most experienced dealers in attendance, with bidding wars that stretched over multiple rounds as collectors who had spent years tracking specific examples finally had the opportunity to compete for them, and the final hammer prices on these occasions were met with genuine disbelief, followed by immediate historical analysis as the numismatic community processed what the results meant for the series going forward. The discovery stories connected to the 1972 Kennedy half dollar are the kind that keep coin collectors awake at night with excitement and purpose. A Wisconsin man who collected Kennedy half dollars as a hobby for over 30 years discovered a 1972 example in a lot of coins he purchased at an estate auction. And what began as a routine examination under his standard desktop magnifier turned into an hours-long session of increasingly excited analysis as he confirmed characteristic after characteristic of the double die variety he had always hoped to find, ultimately submitting the coin to PCGS and receiving back a certified slab with a grade designation that represented the finest known example of that variety at the time of certification, a discovery that transformed his hobby into a defining moment of his life. The grading implications for the 1972 Kennedy half dollar at the top of the scale are almost incomprehensible in their value impact. While a circulated example in fine condition might be worth a few dollars above face value, an MS-67 example with full strike characteristics and confirmed double die obverse represents a coin so far above that baseline that comparison almost seems absurd. And it's this extreme grade sensitivity that makes the 1972 Kennedy half dollar such a compelling subject for serious collectors who understand that finding even a well-preserved example in original rolls or old collections could represent a transformative financial event. Subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub right now and hit that like button. Share this video with every person you know who might have old coins sitting in a drawer or a collection they've never seriously examined. Because the knowledge you've gained today about Kennedy half dollar errors, variety identification, grading impact, and auction values is the kind of information that could genuinely redirect the course of someone's financial life. And that's exactly the mission of this channel, to put real, actionable numismatic knowledge in the hands of everyday people before they accidentally spend a fortune. The market for premium 1972 Kennedy half dollar specimens has shown consistent and accelerating appreciation over the past 2 decades, with no signs of plateauing as international collector interest combines with domestic numismatic enthusiasm to create demand that consistently outpaces the supply of truly exceptional examples. And financial analysts who cover the rare coin market as an alternative investment category have repeatedly cited the Kennedy half dollar error series as among the strongest performing segments of the broader numismatic market. Go right now and examine every Kennedy half dollar in your possession. Look at the 1972 examples with particular care, Use a loop or even a smartphone macro lens. Check the portrait details for any sign of doubling. Assess the coin's surfaces for original luster and absence of cleaning. And if anything you find raises questions, reach out to a professional numismatist before making any decisions about the coin's future, because the difference between having your coin authenticated and accidentally spending it could literally be the difference between your current financial reality and something entirely different and profoundly better. And NUMIS Treasure Hub will be here every step of that journey, bringing you the knowledge, the stories, and the excitement that makes coin collecting the most rewarding treasure hunt in the world.